James, in your time at Penn State, you've been a huge advocate for the whiteout, encouraging fans to wear white from head to toe. You yourself haven't worn white since 2015, and your team's never worn all white for the occasion. Why haven't you been following your own advice?
Wow. Attack me. First of all, part of the whiteout is the contrast. It helps us, if everybody else is in white, makes our players stand out on the field for our quarterbacks and those types of things. That's the first thing. The other thing is we can't wear white at home. There's NCAA rules. It's not like we just show up and wear whatever we want to wear. We would have to get permission from the opposing team to allow us to wear white, and I would never do that for anybody else. So we haven't even kind of gone that route. But I'm glad you brought it up, and obviously you're passionate about it because it was aggressive how you came at me with that.
Hey, Coach, heading into the bye week, you mentioned third down conversions being a point of emphasis during that period. In the last 3 Big Ten games, you guys have hit on over 50% of your third down attempts. What do you attribute that uptick in production to?
Well, I think the biggest thing, guys that have been covering us for a while remember a few years ago, we weren't starting fast in games, so we went to a good on good in the beginning of practice to try to get things going. Because typically your practice goes kind of individual and then group and then team periods. So we kind of flipped that around and started with a good on good period. So what we've done is we always do 2 minute on Tuesdays, and what we did is that Wednesday start of practice used to be normal downs, used to be red zone, used to be a lot of different things, and we've went predominantly to third down, good on good to start practice. So it gives us another period of third downs. There's positives and negatives to it. The positives is we get the competition. The negatives is the offense is running very specific game plan plays versus the defense that we're gonna go against. And our defense is running very specific defenses for the game. So what you're really getting at it is the good on good competition, not necessarily the scheme work, but I think it's been helpful.
James, Sean seemed a little bit nervous at the start of the Iowa game. Do you address that with him at all? And if not, who does?
Yeah, we addressed it during the game with him, but not afterwards. I mean, we go through the game tape with him and talk about some of the things that probably hindered his production in terms of his footwork in the pocket and things like that. So we addressed the causes, but not really that.
How do you think he's responded to pressure so far, pass rush situations, and has his ability to maybe sense where it's coming from before the snap changed at all?
Good. I thought really up till that Iowa game, I thought he's handled things really well, whether that is getting the ball out on time, whether that is adjusting the protection to pick up the blitz, whether that is making plays with his feet. I thought, he's done a really good job of that. I thought, like I said early in the Iowa game, I didn't think we did a great job, but up till that point, I think for, first year starter, I think he's been playing really well.
Can you talk about the logistics involved in these big recruiting weekends? How many people roughly are involved, and how much have you refined this process since you got here?
Yeah, we've gotten better, but it is a nightmare. I mean, it's funny because I know there's a lot of conversations that recruiting staffs have gotten too big. You guys have heard me make this point before. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. The way the recruiting calendar is in the off season, we're on the road recruiting. We need staff here to supervise the team. Vice versa, we'll have camps and official visits going on at the same time in the summer. And the same thing. We have a game like this. We have the game that we need to make sure that our focus is on the coaches and the players. We got official visitors coming in that we got to make sure that they have a great experience, a first-class experience. We got a bunch of unofficial visitors coming in, probably 150 unofficial visitors plus their families. So you're talking a very large number, and you got to do all those things at the same time. So it is a challenge. This is the one game where we have to turn people away. We have waiting lists and things like that. I think we have 150 high school coaches coming, so it's a major operation. But we got a great staff that handles all those things. The other thing that helps us is we got a stadium that supports it. A lot of times their numbers can't be big because they don't have a stadium to support it. Then you got to turn people down, which is also problematic. So all those things is helpful, but it's a major operation.
We were talking to Garrett Taylor earlier. He was talking about the buy-in to some of the stuff that Brett uses, like the mayhem, like competitions and things like that. Has he always used those things as long as you've known him, or I guess have you seen that kind of thing like develop?
You know, it's like anything else. Just like the offense, defense, and special teams evolved over time. We've always done awards, but the awards have grown. One of the awards that I really like that the defense is doing that I brought up last year that they've incorporated is a Keystone Award. And we kind of explained, obviously we're the Keystone State, we kind of explained what a keystone is from an architecture standpoint. You know, obviously it's that stone that holds an arc together, you know, a piece together. Probably the most important piece in architecture. But for us, in our defensive awards, it goes to the guy that probably people don't notice, that allows our team to be successful, our defense to be successful. The guy doesn't show up in a stat sheet, but he's doing his job. So that Keystone Award's become a pretty cool thing, kind of within our program. But typically you have offensive players of the week and defensive players of the week, but it's evolved and grown over time. And then obviously with Penn State, you know, and the Keystone and things like that, we've tried to do some things that, you know, are very specific to us.
Given his age and his maturity, was there a point where you kind of felt, I'm not going to camp, Pat Freiermuth was going to kind of be that guy to take on the leadership role that you've seen from him?
Yeah, you got to also remember, as part of it too is you know, he was a post-grad kid. So, you know, he wasn't your typical freshman. And then he was also, you know, really physically developed already. He was a big guy. He's not like, you know, Brenton Strange has done a great job since he's got here of really developing himself into a legitimate Big Ten tight end. But when he got here, he was like 222 pounds. That wasn't the case for Pat. So I think that factors into it as well. Comes from a football family. I think that factors into it as well. So I think a lot of those things.
Sticking with Pat, we had him on this morning, and he mentioned that it has been a challenge to see defenses counter what he did last year. What did his 2018 success kind of open up for the rest of the offense in 2019?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously right now people go into us saying we got to make sure that KJ doesn't wreck the game, and we got to make sure that Pat Freiermuth doesn't wreck the game. I think people go in with that type of mentality each week. And fortunately, those two guys get it. They understand that when we can get them the ball, we're going to do it, but we're not going to force it to them. And that mentality of the people we're playing create opportunities for other people. Create opportunities in the running game, create opportunities for Jahan Dotson and Shorter and Daniel George and so on and so forth. So, and Bowers. You know, I think Bowers is a great example, especially in the two tight end sets. So it's all of it. And, you know, I think our coaches are doing a really good job of understanding all that and balancing it all. We've been very balanced, I think, pretty much all year long on offense. So I think all those things are positives.
Who's been the keystone of the team so far?
We only do it on defense.
No, I mean overall. The guy that's kind of that we don't know that's holding it together.
Yeah, I would say on offense, you know, it's those offensive linemen like Mennett and Fries and Gonzo, you know, probably guys that don't get their name in the paper a whole lot. I'll probably say the whole line, to be honest with you. We talked about Rasheed Walker as a guy we're not talking about, which is a positive. You know, Miranda's done a nice job. So with the offense, I would say it's the O-line, just because the nature of how the offensive line works. You know, defensively, you know, in years past, you know, it's the nose guard that maybe doesn't show up in a stat sheet that's eating up a double team all the time. You know, so maybe you could say, you know, PJ Mustipher and Shelton, probably the combination of those two guys, I would say probably fall into that category. But you kind of caught me off guard. And then I'd say Stoll. You know, if you're never talking about the long snapper, that's probably a good thing. You know, he would probably be the other guy to fall into that type of category.
The formations you use over the course of the season don't change too much, but the diversity that you have out of those formations seems to expand as the year goes on. What kind of dictates that timeline, and is there a point you try and get to, or is it just a matter of kind of adding pieces as you move along?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So for us, a lot of people are multiple personnel, multiple formation. We're not. And part of that is so we can go fast, but the other part of that is it allows you to be very comfortable in knowing what to call and how they're going to play defensively, because you're in base formations all the time. You get a really good feel for how they're going to play you, where motions a lot of times affects how we're going to block. So if the linebacker if the offensive line think they're double teaming this linebacker, and then you go in motion and they bump their linebackers, it changes the picture. Same thing in protection. So there's good and bad that comes with motions and multiple formations. So, for us, we try to keep it base looks, base formations, so we have a lot of confidence in how they're going to line up and how they're going to try to defend us. And then what we try to do is kind of throughout the year, we've taken some time in the off season to say, okay, we're going to use this, for this game. We're going to use this, and you save some things. Very similar to a few years back against Michigan, we hadn't shown the running back wildcat formation where we shifted at the last second, things like that. So try to sprinkle a few things like that in each week. But I think your point is a good one.
I think you said yesterday that you've been trying to explain to Coach Parker, about the whiteout since he hasn't experienced it. When you first
and Coach Lord.
Yeah, sorry. When you first got here, did someone explain it to you? Did you understand kind of what it was before you got here?
I think it's one of those things that people can explain it to you all you want, but until you kind of experience it yourself, it's hard to experience. And I've been in some pretty good environments. I was a head coach in SEC. Obviously, I coached with the Green Bay Packers. So I've been in pretty good environments. So you think you understand what it's going to be like, but until you get in there and you kind of feel the electricity. Plus, it's different. It was the first time for me and most of these coaches too, where that type of environment is cheering for you. I've been on the other end of that. Not nearly as fun.